pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. So, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
A motion by Jean, a second.
Second.
By Colleen. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment? Okay. Thank you. Consent items. Do we have a motion to approve the consent items?
Make a motion to approve the consent items.
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Discussion? Okay, 10-year plan. Great.
Okay, and looking at the revenue projection, let me zoom. With the revenue projection, you'll notice that in 2024, that's the last time we get the debt service for the existing HVAC here at the high school. And so that's kind of a pass-through. We get the money, we have to spend the money, and so that's when that, actually that's when we'll pay that off. So that will be paid off by 2025. Except we're still paying to try to get it to work right. The other thing with this, if you look at line 6, the current year average pupil unit, you'll notice that from 2021 on out, they're just keeping our average pupil unit number flat because they said that they really can't do the projections with the online world the way it is. So we've got this page. Things are fairly consistent, and you'll notice that in the yellow, the total long-term facility maintenance levy, there's a huge deduction. That's typically what we do, and that'll be on the next sheet. We reduce the long-term facility maintenance dollars that we can collect. So this is just the spreadsheet from the state. Okay. And then going on to the plan, this is what's really important and what we can work with. You'll notice with this one in 2019, we've got the blip for asbestos removal and encapsulation, and then we've got the higher dollar amount right here with the $100,000 for interior surface. That's our flooring. So long-term facility maintenance will cover about $275,000 of our project, and remember there's probably another about 120 that long-term facility maintenance will not cover because it decided what they, in looking at it, they said that in the science room, since we are changing the organization, we're not doing like for like. So then long-term facility maintenance could not be used for that. But we don't have anything really major built in, and in finance, we were talking about maybe trying to utilize as much of the long-term facility maintenance as possible. We can redo the tennis courts in blacktop. We can't do a different surface with the current person that's now running long-term facility maintenance at the state. she said that if it's blacktop, we have to redo it with blacktop. So that's something we can look at doing. Questions on this? This will come for approval at the July meeting.
They probably won't redo the blacktop as it is. I mean, they'd wanna,
Yeah.
cause it's rough shape. So, a blacktop guy's not gonna just
No,
reseal it.
no, that would be a very expensive project.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions on it? Okay, annual field trip report.
This is the field trip report that,
Looks pretty quiet.
nothing came up. I will go back into, oh dear.
Your computer has to be easier than that to read. I hope that that's not what your computer looks like.
That's what it looks like right now, so, there. Hence the hunch and the.
I think you can adjust that for yourself. Make the, yeah, might wanna make it bigger.
Okay, well, right now, because it's on the, it's with the Apple computer, so everything got teeny. This is from Todd. Todd couldn't be here today. He's up at, he's at Breezy Point at the state principals convention.
Greetings.
Okay. So here's the field trips, with the Minnesota Zoo, the 44, for Ashley Wolf and for Deb Sobek, the 44 number of students. That was the 7th grade mentorship projects. For Greta Getting, that was all drama club. For Ryan Gatzloff and Crystal Savoda, that was 9th grade and juniors. Then Becky Eidiger took some of the kids from her English class. For Deb Sobek, the Art Institute was all the 8th graders and anyone in high school art that wanted to go. And then the Seven Bridges Pottery, that was the ceramics class. Any?
What was the Mr. Momsen's?
Oh, that, Rochester, that was some of his chemistry in the environment kiddos.
Is there a point where the numbers are the cost of a sub and number of students participating in some of these field trips is looked at all?
That one was one where he thought he was going to have an entire class go, and then they decided that they wanted to stay in school. So his bus turned into a van.
Yeah, that's not exactly my question, but
Yeah, but it is not, cost effective to take 4 kids up there, even with a van, because like Michael Ling said, you're hiring a sub and
Right.
everything else that goes involved in it. That's,
Why were they given a choice?
yeah, I mean, if they said, well, we don't get 9 kids, say if that's the number that works, whatever that number may be.
In
then
some
it doesn't
cases,
happen.
it's the kids that day just decide, I didn't get the
Well-
work done that I wanted to get done, I'm not going along today, I'm gonna stay here in school.
They can do that? Oh, 'cause
in
that-
all of the field trips? In any?
That makes field trips tough, yeah.
Some of these, like the drama club, they're outside school hours. I think those were on Saturdays and after school. I mean, the club ones are set up a little different, but
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, these numbers that have 4 kids on it, that seems, you're busing or transporting kids
Oh,
and you're bringing somebody in.
The Lisa Evans 4,
Mm-hmm.
that was her work-based learning team, So it's 4 kids on a team.
Oh, okay.
She could have 8 if she had 2 teams, but that's 1 team of kids.
And the Becky Ida Commercial Lacrosse to see a play, I know Lily went to that, that was in the evening
Yeah,
after
that would
school.
be after hours, so
Yeah,
that
was
not worried
after
about
school.
those.
Well,
Just something to talk about.
Just thinking about this is, I know the years seem to run together pretty quickly, but it's been a while since MNBA's, in my opinion, since MNBA's came with a trip. Are they still doing the trips, or I could be off, but it seems like it's been a couple years since they went.
Oh,
somewhere.
since Tina took them, yeah.
Yeah.
And Tina hasn't done that, and I could ask her. if
I was
she's-
just curious, and if, I
It
mean,
seemed
because
like
she
they
went
did a
to
while.
every other year, or they were going fairly regularly, and then I haven't heard any, I can't remember. It's probably been 2 or 3 years since they've done something.
When did,
It's been a couple of years.
Yeah, it's probably been going on 3.
Yeah, it's been a while, I think. And then, I think, is it this year is a band trip? I'm assuming I was just thinking about that. I think last year they went to DC last fall, so this year is probably a band.
correct?
So we'll be hearing about that
I'm
soon.
hoping, yeah,
Okay.
because he's supposed to get the itinerary and the travel so that can be approved.
Is that usually in the spring or fall?
Spring.
It's a
Okay.
spring one,
Yeah.
but with all of those trips, we like to have that notification as early as possible because there's fundraisers all
Yep.
Yeah, I
year.
was gonna say they raise money.
Any questions on this? And I can ask about,
No, I just was, it was just policies on, if we saw a whole bunch of field trips that were for students.
Yeah.
So it just begged the
Then you
question.
get 4 or 6, you wonder.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, there's probably a reason, there's just not,
Mhm.
all the information isn't on there, but I mean, I'm sure I think field trips are valuable, but I think the students should
Also
be
feel the
expected
same.
to go.
Yeah.
Should be
Maybe where they
expected to
can bow on it,
participate
too.
as part of the learning. I mean, that's the
Part of the class.
part of the class.
well, I know I even had that in Knowledgeable where kids would just send a text in the morning and say, I didn't get my homework done, I can't go to Knowledgeable today.
Yeah, see, I personally, I don't think that should be an option.
Not if you're on a
Because
team or
it's-
part of a group.
Yeah.
If you're taking a field trip, the field trip has a purpose,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and you're learning something. And so, for some kids, they're maybe gonna do homework religiously, but other kids are going to stay back just to not have to be responsible for going that field trip because they weren't interested in it. And how many times in life don't we end up doing something that we didn't wanna do, and then found out it was pretty good after we did it? So, I guess, I don't know who handles that, but,
Anyway, it's just like
Yeah.
Tom said, something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Hopefully the principals will keep that in mind.
Okay, any other questions on that? MNVA handbooks?
The handbooks are there, here are, obviously these links are not working the way I put them in here. We had a,
What are the changes?
can't
Would
look at
you
that.
be-
That's why I'm looking at you, right? Just,
Personnel changes and things like that, but I have to read
Pretty good.
through.
odds.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble.
I can't
But
even look at it.
I mean, Angela has,
with here,
when she puts these in, it's easy to find the upgrade. It's
The
easy
changes.
to find the changes, and I haven't looked at them all, but it's board friendly for looking it over. So,
and so that, there are some things that got taken out of all of them. So Fast Bridge, Study Island, it's being, and that should be star 360, not start 360. The escalation matrix just means if a student is not logging in, not attending, we've got different things in place now. We've changed duties a bit in the office to try to be more proactive as far as getting kids engaged, re-engaged faster. Not letting them fall through the cracks for long.
Oh, and the teacher one, it mentioned that for the teacher, in terms of getting the assignments due, and the administrator's supposed to look at with all those teachers, is that quite a burden to look at those?
As far as which,
For, when they, to get assignments, deadline for getting assignment in if they miss. It seemed like it was on an individual teacher's thing, they were supposed to turn in a report to their administrator, I think I read.
okay, I don't know what you're
That'd
getting
be
at.
under the teacher's one.
Yeah, I'm looking at the changes in the teacher handbook.
I don't know if she's got it on here, it might have been in the regular.
If you're talking about zeroing out, 2 weeks before, with the due date, what we've had an issue with is if the due date comes and goes and the student hasn't turned something in and the teacher doesn't put a 0 there, for the student it looks like they've got everything done. And so the teacher either has to mark it with a 0 so they can see that change in their grade, or the teacher has to mark it with a missing so that it shows up on their landing page that they've got an overdue assignment. When a teacher does nothing, kids can get to the end of the semester and their grade is maybe a B. And then if the teacher puts all the 0s in, that B can turn to an F overnight without the kid having any, they should know if they've been missing assignments, but without, well, as you said,
Yeah.
it's nice to have the reminder. And if it's not on your landing page that you missed it, and it's not, there's no flag that you've missed an assignment, it's easy to think, no, there's nothing in my to-do list, I've done everything that's there. And so it's the automation. It's not labor intensive for teachers or for the administrators to log into a class and to check to see that that's done.
So are there discussions there about whether to put the 0 in or a missing, or do a periodic mid-quarter grade report? Because we have extensive conversations about the emotional impact of seeing 0s versus being reminded that you have missing work. And I mean, you need to be somewhat, I mean, I think there's.
The missing work always starts first, automatically, but
But you said either or, so I was just
Right.
wondering how that's determined.
there's that, and that's administrators talking to, it's a little more stringent at the high school level than it is K-8. But there has to be that point where the kids get all the notification, all your missing work is going to be turning to 0s on this day.
Okay.
I think some of the teachers do different things, like some of them will 0 it out every week, it's due every week, and if you didn't turn it in, it's a 0. And then other teachers like send an email and say, I'm about to 0 them out, I want you to be prepared. And
But-
you're gonna see, and then
But
does
some
it.
consistency, well, or some consistent expectation that's been communicated is important, because I dealt with that all the time. Go to a B and all of a sudden they got an F and they don't know what happened.
Yeah, I think each teacher, there isn't consistency right now.
Yeah.
We've talked about that in the past, but it's up to each teacher. It's almost like being in college and each teacher has their own different way of doing
Right.
stuff.
I
And
understand that. Yeah.
it's hard to get used to for the kids
And-
without the consistency, but
The administrators are trying to get the consistency in there, but it's a balance because the teachers are also looking at what they've been doing. And they're wondering if it's a term and condition of employment that is an unfair burden placed on them.
Well, it's also depends on the type of course and the curriculum and the way it's delivered, and if it's a project, if the project has 1 grade, when the project is completed, you can't give them 0s all along unless you're evaluating it periodically to make that determination. It's a good opportunity for professional development, I think, for the online school to have those conversations.
Mm-hmm. And they have them because there's a lot of differences of opinions on how it should be done.
So we have to approve these at our next meeting? then?
Yes. And just for your, Todd will have his handbooks to the board in July for August 1st approval, and I think Rick has his for August 1st and then August 15th approval. Angela needs to get hers done because they have to go in the enrollment packet. So they'll get approved in July and they'll go off the presses right away so they can be used at the end of July.
Okay.
Any
Any other
other?
questions on those? Okay, items for discussion and approval. GAPS B, statement number 84. Says we have to approve.
Yes, now we're at the point where we need to, that worked, zippity. Okay. This is, part of the new requirement with, the student activities account. And, it's really not changing it a lot. But this is a hoop we have to jump through. There were at first all kinds of comments that everything is gonna be changed, and then when we went to the different trainings on it, we found out, oh no, you basically have to do it the way you're doing it, and that's going to be okay. But we still have to do this. Gatsby.
I make a motion to approve the resolution regarding extracurricular activities.
Okay, a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
I just have a question, quick.
Yep.
Do we, it just as a parent, every now and then, I happen to, like, for instance, drama club concessions or something, like, I'll every now and then get involved in something that might have money. It's not my responsibility to take care of the money, but do the people who are running that event, I mean, do we communicate, like, do they know that this is the standard procedure, that the money goes to this person at the end of the event, or do they know what to do? I guess I don't know what to do, but I don't really need to. I'm just working a concession stand, but so they'll be notified of all the changes and they know best practices, and every night it goes into the elementary office and is locked, or every night at the end of concessions it goes here and 2 people counted, or whatever we have in place, or is that all set and we'll just tell them
Yeah, Marcia goes through all that with.
okay, perfect.
New advisors.
And then if there's any changes or,
And if Marcia's not here, Ann goes through it with them too, because if Ann gets the money box together, she's got notes all over in it.
cause I think sometimes there's some strange things too that happen, like, I don't know, like a batting cage donation, or, you know, a robotics donation or whatever, and the money that comes in, and just so everybody knows what they're supposed to do with it, and how to, or maybe that's something separate. I don't know.
No, but that's, thank you for bringing that up, because I got a text yesterday from the Houston and Rushford Houston Knights of Columbus. They're having a fundraiser golf outing, and they asked if we would like to benefit from the money, and I said yes. But what they would like to do is to fund part of our backpack program, and that's giving some kiddos food in the backpack if they're on free and reduced price lunch here. And then they also want to help for those lunch accounts that are in arrears and collections isn't working. They're going to defray that, but we have to, as a school, basically figure out what is our policy for when that money comes into the student account for students. If it's not designated to a student in particular, how do we designate the student? What is our plan? What is our procedure for doing that designation? So that, thank you for bringing that up.
Well, yeah, and I think it's like that's up there, but I just making sure that when we receive money that it's always weird today. I mean, they're always gonna pop up, but just in general, making sure that everybody knows. I don't have to handle it because I'm not an employee, but everybody who could potentially have to deal with that, how do they handle? Let's say there's a science room donation. Does Mr. Momsen know how to handle that? I'm sure he's just gonna come to the office and ask, but you know, just
Hopefully.
making sure people.
Yeah.
It needs to go into account and then we'll buy, you know, I mean, just stuff like that, that I just wanna make sure everybody knows what to do with it, cause obviously we love donations, right? We love money.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times I think the board either approves accepting the money or rejects. If there's stipulations on it that we don't like, well, we can reject.
Well,
Yeah.
normally they can't be,
If it's of a certain
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah,
Normally
right.
there can't be, yes.
Yeah.
it's
There's
just a
rules.
donation to the district,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it's our decision on, right, on what
Right.
it gets,
What it gets spent on.
yeah, but I mean, normally we would try to honor what,
Mhm.
if there's a need
Right.
there, but the stipulation is they can't
Say,
say.
So would finance committee meet to talk about that? Okay, sounds good. Sorry, just a couple questions.
Finance or policy,
Mhm.
either.
Oh, true,
There's-
yeah, true, policy maybe.
There's policies.
policy, Michaeline, let's.
Yeah.
I don't have that one in
New
my
ones.
head, but.
New policy.
Okay, but we do
Okay.
need to vote on this.
Okay, so we have
Gotta have-
further discussion, all in favor?
Do we have to have individual votes on this? Or is it, can we,
On Gatsby?
yeah, I don't want to have A's and A's absent out here, so,
No.
That's just-
It doesn't say roll call, so
Okay,
I
roll
don't
call.
assume it, yeah.
okay.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
What's next on the
The
list?
renewal of board approved levy,
Okay. This one, it's a little wonky. I know Michaeline looked at the list and we are not one of the 16, however, we're not one of the 16 because we were on the list last year. Because we originally did this in 2013, but then we did the reauthorization right away in 2014 because we didn't do the full amount in 2013. So we basically rescinded the original 2013 authorization and then did a new one in 2014, which sunsets in 2019. 2020, we won't need this anymore because the state has approved that this will just keep going and we won't have to do this every 5 years. It's just once you've done it now, all of those schools are grandfathered in. But it's not going to be until 2020. And most of the schools re-upped theirs last year, so for 5 years, so they're fine. So it's something we need to do, and then next year I'll say now, we don't have to worry about this anymore, but we have a 1-year window.
okay, so we have a motion to renew the
Does
board.
this list the 1 year, or is it assumed it's a 5 year like we did last time?
It's assuming a 5-year just in case something happens legislatively where that doesn't happen.
Okay.
And so then we can, at the end, rescind it. It's just, we could do this for 1 year.
We don't have to rescind it though.
No.
If it's permanently
Yeah,
in law, we just
yeah.
don't have to take action to
Right.
renew it, right?
Right,
Because that's what the legislature just approved,
right,
How much can we levy up to?
$300.
300,
300, so we are levying the max,
yes.
okay.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a
Okay,
motion
so
to
you,
approve.
you introduced?
Mhm.
Okay.
So I have a second,
I'll second.
second, Amy,
Who was the motion?
Michaeline.
Michaeline, second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Oh, no, this is a roll call,
Oh,
sorry.
I didn't see it on there, so, okay. Sorry, Michaeline?
aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. The Crescent Montessori Cooperative. Talked about this last time.
Okay, some questions. have come up about the, co-op. See, Mike Lean, your question was on,
My question was on section 4. Well, my question was whether the coaches had been, our coaches had
Oh.
been
yes,
brought to the table and heard as to whether they were in favor or had any concerns.
yep, and I
And
got
my
that.
second question was on section 4C in any one of the resolutions that discusses how costs are going to be distributed or calculated to the school that's participating with us. There's a long list of things, and I didn't know how that worked for Rushford. I don't know how we pay Rushford for those things, who's keeping that accounting, because there's a lot of things on there, and who's gonna do it to bill.
It's the
Lucrece.
accounting that we do for every sport as far as what's paid out for the sport. It's one extra step, as far as taking the numbers. It's taking the numbers of participants, figuring how many are Houston, how many are La Crescent Montessori, dividing total cost. So you,
Using a percentage.
no, yeah,
Yeah, but the list of allocation of costs, I'm like, are we doing this?
yes,
Expenses for spectator buses, expenses for facilities, lights, heating, showers, towels, for banquets and awards, for scouting, coaches, meetings and workshops, we prorate supplies and equipment.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
I know when Lisa had talked about last meeting, she kind of brought it up, that we're doing things pretty much like we did with Rushford, which is what I consider probably the fairest one that we have, if I'm not mistaken, saying that way, but, so that's why we wanted to mirror that. Michael, I don't think you were here during that meeting.
No, I wasn't,
So
and
there was some
I know that
questions
we had
that were brought
approved
up,
this
and-
for track, and I
Yeah.
just didn't, I'm just like, that seems like a lot of, so who's
Well-
responsible for that, the district office, or the athletic director, or the coach?
district office. And then the district office just finds out how many kids, it's, I talked to Gwen today about it, and she
Mhm.
said it's about 5 extra minutes.
Cause there was some discussion on practices, I
5
think people
extra
had brought
minutes here
in.
and there adds up.
Yeah.
As far as what the coaches said, our head girls basketball coach said, I'm in full support of inviting La Crescent Montessori and STEM to join HHS activities. Both communities would greatly benefit one another. No school or student should be denied access to a culture of extracurricular activities. Our head baseball coach said, for baseball, we could really use the extra players for the next few years. Our football coach said, do they have any 6'3" 300-pound linemen? I am in support with a co-op. Our volleyball coach said, I think it's a great idea. If we can expose more kids to athletics, that's an awesome thing. The boys golf coach said, I'm cool with more golfers. The boys basketball coach said, I support it. I agree with it. It's a good thing to provide kids the opportunity. Drama advisor said, I would be thrilled to welcome new students to the drama program. I hope there are a bunch of students who like ABBA, as our fall musical is Mamma Mia. And so I found out that fall musical is Mamma Mia. That's cool. Our head girls golf coach said, sounds good to me. And our dance coach said, yes, I think it's absolutely a great thing. Anytime we can help kids get access to extracurriculars, it's an absolute yes.
Thank you.
And we
And
talked
thank
last
Lisa
meeting in
for-
terms of starting, we're gonna have to wait, but Montessori gets out early, so they have time to get over here to start before our kids get out.
Well, it's gonna be a little more
Yeah.
logistical work on the part of the coaches for communications with students, and so I just wanted to know that it's just good to know that, I didn't really question that they weren't, it's just nice to hear that
Yeah.
if people say, what are you doing, we say, well, everybody's,
And
right
I-
voices were at the table.
And I did inform La Crescent superintendent that we were looking at entering into this co-op, because I, just for reason of transparency and keeping
No,
a
that's
good
fine.
relationship
That's
there
good.
too.
And it starts in 7th grade, correct?
You bet.
Okay.
So,
I think that, and I said last time too, I mean, I think the 7th graders, Well, it'll be interesting. It'll be
Mhm.
interesting. It's, it's gonna be intimidating for them to come to a different school, and, 7th and 8th grade is kind of a rough time anyway, so, but then at the same time, once they've been here a little bit, they're gonna be used to it and they can continue on, so, I want it to be a good experience for everyone, right? It's gonna be hard, cause some of those kids have been together. That being said, some of my kids know kids that go there, so
I was gonna say, some of the students over there might
they already know.
be some of our residents.
And they're past some are, I mean, we know some well, so, and some are already in dance at Nicole's, so, yeah, they'll know each other.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so, do we have a motion to approve the,
I so move. Approve.
I second
okay, got a motion and a second? Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Go down, lease agreement?
Oh. This is the typical lease agreement that we have. And it's the same, just different days, so it's the same lease agreement we've had.
Every other year.
So the rent will be $1 plus $20 every night that the softball lights are used.
So do we have a motion to approve the, hold-down lease agreement?
So moved to approve.
Motion made by Jane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by me. Further discussion?
Just know that they will be, Hoedown does have a temporary liquor license, and so since they are
There'd be
in the
alcohol.
lease, there will be alcohol.
But they're liable, so it's.
They're liable, they've got their insurance plan.
So it plays no role in the Minnesota High School League rules of no alcohol in fields?
No, not with the lease, that's why we do the lease.
Yeah.
And if the porta potties get tipped over during hoedown, well, that's the same as this happened last week.
Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, so any further discussion on the lease?
I'm so out of the loop on stuff, I have no idea.
I live in town. Further discussion? All in favor?
Alright,
Opposed? Okay. Tech integrationist recommendations?
There's that one, I think you want more. There we go. These are the different options that, Dependable has for the, tech integration. Joe was thinking 24 days might be enough. Todd and Rick felt the 40 days, and that way with the 40 days, they can have, 1 day a week, or they can have somebody at the high school and somebody at the elementary school on the same day.
is it gonna be an issue? So I just want them to arrange it as early as possible, because, if we want somebody at the same time that another school wants the same person, let's just make sure we get the days we want and the schedule we want.
And as soon as this is approved, then, I'm letting Joe know tomorrow morning what was decided, and then we can start.
Schedule.
We know that we want 2 days at the beginning of the year, we know that we know what our calendar is with our halftime days for, workshop halftime. We know that end of quarter, they'll want somebody there, so we've already got that scheduled.
Yeah, so I think Rick and Todd should just get them the schedule as soon as possible, because I'm sure some of those days other schools are gonna want to, and if we're the first ones to get out there, then it's.
I think Caledonia is going with this one too. I don't remember if Caledonia picked the 12-day or the 24-day.
When they go with the one-on-one training and $3,000 per month, but we don't have too many teachers that are contracted from June 15th to August 15th. 2 months they knock off 6,000.
Yeah, what the principals wanted, they wanted times where they could have people more at the beginning of the year. It says 40 days, but that doesn't mean, like Corinne was saying, 2 days a week. It may be at the beginning of the year where they have them 3 days 1 week and 3 days, And at the end of the year, we may not need him as often.
Might not have
But-
them at all in
So I
May.
don't
The-
think, just
the-
because we're locking into 40
40
days, I think it's just more about when you need them,
The 3,000 per month, that's just
just an average.
letting us pay every month, because the 40 days are just
Okay.
through the 9,
Any 40 days.
yes.
Correct, yeah, because Todd and Rick were mentioning that they wanted, like I said, maybe some specific times for training.
Mhm.
So like Mimi said, let's get it locked in now, before we start the school year, before other people take them.
And we'll make sure we'll get somebody who knows Schoology well, and he'll get us the right person.
And the other thing is, if we find that this isn't enough and we will be doing the evaluation, if it really doesn't seem to be working, if the teachers really miss having someone here full-time, then I will probably be coming back in January when we start looking at plans for the next year and say, okay, we probably need to start posting for a tech integrationist. So we'll try it this year. But I need to know, so whoever makes the recommendation, I need to know which level of recommendation.
And you
You're
said
making.
Rick and Todd would like the 40 days.
Yes,
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the 40-day?
I motion to approve the 40 days, up to 350 hours of training for 36,000.
We have a motion, and a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Lee. Discussion?
I just have just a couple of questions. I wasn't at the last meeting, so I'm a little bit unable to participate fully in this, but do we know what the background of the tech integrationist at Dependable is? Like, what is their resume?
Expertise.
and they all came from World of Teaching. Let's see,
I think that multiple people was, one of them at a meeting.
I think as Dependable said, I heard that they have 2 integrationists on staff, but they may have other people that can. But I
The
just. I don't
person
know
that
the
was at that meeting was very knowledgeable in Schoology. I'm gonna guess they both are. I
What
wouldn't be
meeting was that?
It was a tech meeting a while, I assume that was a Dependable there at that,
Jennifer, yes.
okay, I don't even, it was months ago, I don't remember if we were talking about e-learning days, but, she seemed very knowledgeable, yeah, it was, yeah.
They all, they've been in the world of education. Jennifer actually left Dependable because she got hired on as a principal in a school that was pushing a one-to-one initiative, and they needed somebody with her level of expertise, so they were willing to really make a very sweet principal package for her, and she just, they
It
made her an
seems like
offer
a-
she couldn't refuse. But the tech integrationists are from the world of education, so they really understand classroom. They know Schoology. Most of them have a great deal of experience with not only learner management systems such as D2L, Blackboard, Moodle, Schoology, any of those. They also know the student information systems, so they understand how it interweaves with Infinite Campus or Power School. A lot of the Wisconsin schools use Power School, so that's part of what they need to know as a tech integrationist at Dependable.
Okay, so I'll just put all these questions out here. So I'm just wondering if we know how much time was spent on tech integrationist in the last year, and how much time is anticipated with the expansion to e-learning and the take-home thing in the next year in terms of time for that. Is 40 hours enough? Because I know that I heard the discussion that the athletic director sometimes takes a lot of time and other days not so much, so I'm wondering how much does tech integration stuff take? And who, and this is a related, but who in our district, who is tasked with, who's responsible for maintaining the Infinite Campus, the student, who takes care of that now?
Infinite Campus is Todd.
Okay. So then the other thing is just on time. If there's do we know, have you looked at the time issue? I mean, clearly, the principals feel like 40 days is enough.
And I don't think we're gonna be necessarily locked into 40 days if, like you said, Michaeline, we do need more, or we may not be. You know what I mean? We may not need.
Well, how are we
40
gonna
days.
get more? We're contracting for 40.
We're
That's it.
contracting for
But it
40.
seemed to me that they were
If
not,
we needed to buy more
True.
time, we could buy more time.
you know what I mean? They
If
were
they have the staff, but they need to know what we need so they're going
delegate
to have
staff
to
time.
hire at least one more.
So what do we need? I know we need more at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
but I think we're gonna need a lot for this whole year. We've got a lot of things that are being implemented.
My impression after what Lisa said last time was that I think that when they sit down with somebody, like the teachers are all gonna have their own sets of questions, and some of them are really hard. And if you're an expert in Schoology, you're gonna be able to answer them just like that and help them through all of their questions. Where if it's not somebody that knows Schoology, you're gonna have to go and research it and do this or that. So I think if they get an hour of Dependable's time, that teacher, and get their 20 random questions and help doing this all taken care of, it's gonna be
But do
really
they-
powerful
like,
for
how
them to
well
go
do they
run
know Schoology? How well do they
really
know
well, I
Blackboard?
think. My impression is like experts in
Right.
it. And I think if they don't, we need to tell Joe we want somebody else. Like if we get a new person and they don't know Schoology very well, we need to say, hey, we were expecting somebody who really was an expert. I don't think that's gonna happen, but
Joe will
Well-
go and hire somebody then.
well, it needs to be somebody who's really good and helpful. And I think the principals had whoever it was that was helping. I don't know if it was Jennifer or somebody else. Whoever was helping was that. So I think that's what they would
And there's
like to continue.
And a lot of that training has been done, so that the teachers have the working knowledge of Schoology, how to upload things to Schoology, how to use Schoology. There's just some tweaking, and maybe at the beginning of the year, some reminders, because it's been a summer without it, and when you go a summer without something, teachers are just like kids, they have the summer slide too.
Well, I just hope that the principals make sure that they're all at the level they need to be. I mean, we talked about this last year before we started this Schoology thing of it. It was only in a year, but there's a lot, like Michaeline said, there's a lot to learn. And my concerns are always, are they all at the same level? And if not, how do we get them there? And the ones that are lacking are the principals ensuring that, kicking them a little bit, that they are getting up to speed.
And we also have to understand that there are very different classes.
Oh, I understand
With
that.
Paul Groupie isn't going to be able to put much on
No, I
Schoology
understand that, but
because or Kyle, because it's a hands-on class.
But
You
that's
can't-
where, again, the principals should know where they need to be and what level they need to be. And if they say to this person, as I'm assuming they were saying to Lisa, they're good or whatever, when they're supposed to be reviewing them on a regular basis, saying, yep, you're at where you should be at this time of year. I just don't want, next year we talk about this in January, all of a sudden we're like, well, we've got everybody on board with these 20 teachers. Why? You know what I mean? If we're paying this money, we've decided to go this way, why aren't they at where they need to be?
I think another big value to using Dependable is that they're in the other schools. So if they're in Caledonia, for instance, they could say, well, the Caledonia band teacher is actually doing recordings and they've got this really cool thing, and have you thought of doing that? No one ever thought of that, and so have those exposures and take some of the really cool things that are happening, and the schools are kind of all helping each other out at that point, which is good.
I know Lisa used them a lot. She made it sound like when she was here, when she was teaching it, there was times where she's like, hey, I have no idea. Don't mean that in a bad way.
No, you're right.
But it's like the phone rings and they're calling them, where this hopefully will be a little smoother. What we're hoping for. So, anyway, further discussion, Michaeline, do you have some more questions? Anybody else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
MREA, membership renewal.
Yeah, this is just that time of year.
Move to approve our membership with MREA.
We have a motion. Got a second from Michaeline. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? School Board Association membership renewal. All these come up at once.
Yeah.
This one's an expensive one.
Except for what we get from them, it is,
So do we have a motion to approve the association membership renewal?
So moved.
Motion made by Michaeline, second by Mimi. Discussion? Like Jean said, it's a little bit more than the other ones, but we get a lot from them, so.
And
We'll
the
save
thing,
that in negotiation, right?
the thing about it is that you don't know, like, you need it because you never know when you're gonna need it. There are times we've been on the phone with them all the time, and I mean, you don't know,
I'll call them.
everything is going fine and you're fine, but you don't know when it's not gonna go fine, you really need them.
and that
It's
they
interest.
know us and we've got a very good working relationship with them. So let's see if this one comes up.
Okay, so a motion with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Painting bid for kitchen and band room, I think this is a continuation on what we've been doing.
Yeah, it's just one
an
that
additional-
it just kind of fell through the cracks. It was supposed to be that facilities committee knew about it, but it just didn't make it on the board agenda. So it's, the band room, for those of you that have looked in the band room, it was, parts of it were white, parts of it were blue. The shelves that are black that are supposed to blend in when they're in a concert were chipped. It just, if we're getting a new floor, it makes sense to paint before the floor goes in. And that the kitchen was cited also that needed cleaning and fresh paint by health service, so.
So do we have a motion to
Is this-
approve?
I so move, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion, sorry.
I just had a question about his bid, what's inclusive of his bid?
he includes the paint, he includes, so 2 coats of paint, he does all of the masking, he does all of the floor covering, I don't know how he makes any money, but if we have to have
Don't say
anything
that,
painted,
Karen.
we're gonna hire him.
Well, maybe so, but we might wanna know what paint he's using.
Oh, no, it's,
Yeah.
Sherwin-Williams commercial grade.
Okay, because that's really.
I know, that's
No,
why
it-
we,
Yeah.
he
No,
did
it-
the grade school too, I think. Yeah.
No, he did the
Yeah.
ceilings at the grade
It's,
school and we
People are
said
pretty
it's
happy with it,
gotta
because
be
he cleans
commercial
up
grade.
after
Is
himself.
it really
Scrubbable?
fast or something, or?
Yes,
He does
he's
a nice-
incredibly fast, it's very good, he did all the painting in the Rushford gym. And so he did all that lettering in the Rushford gym too.
Hmm.
And yeah. He's
Okay.
a kid, but he's a good kid.
Okay. So, we have a motion, we have a second, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approval of the FY 20 proposed budget. Did we talk about this last time?
Did you get this into SharePoint, Ben? Yeah. Okay, good.
So,
I didn't get it linked though.
No, my links aren't working anyway, so that's okay.
Shoot towards the top.
Did you want to look at it, Mike? Got it here.
Well, no, I'll listen to you guys.
Okay, they talked about it in finance. I mean,
Yep,
so,
briefly.
I don't think there was any many changes to it from the last time, right?
I don't remember what it was when did it change since last time? It shows an excess of revenue of $575.
Mhm.
So it's pretty flat. But that includes, it still
It's the first one.
it still includes,
Unless, here, let me refresh and see if that does it.
a tech integrationist salary, instead of the dependable. So there'll be a little bit of savings there.
No,
And it includes the, my understanding, steps and lanes, right?
no,
I thought it
well,
does include that, that's okay.
it includes the steps and lanes, but it doesn't include any pay
negotiations.
raise.
Right, correct.
yeah, so I don't know if you wanna look at that, Pete, we don't, so we're negotiating right now, right? So we don't have a lot of extra.
Or $500.
$500. Bucks.
One
So,
for you, one for you.
We hand them out when they come.
which talking about the change in salary there from the tech integrationist to dependable, maybe, I don't know, I'm gonna make up a number, 20,000 or something difference. So that would get added to the 500, but what did we ever decide for posting of like Facebook, Twitter, website? Did we decide that that was gonna be handled by,
The principals thought that there were some teachers that would be willing to do that.
so do we need to add that into the budget, I guess, is part of this whole swap out? That's my question, because I thought maybe the athletic director was gonna do some of it, and we also talked about Barb and,
Barb and Judy, and
Yeah.
then, Todd will be doing some, I'll start actually tweeting.
sorry, I hope it goes okay.
Me too.
We'll look at them now.
With this, on this page, this is, it shows how it was created. It's based on Summit having 17 students. And for transportation, it's based on kind of what we had this year. The one thing it does have buying a van in there. So buying a new van because one of our vans is getting too old to transport children. We put in 10,000 for a utility vehicle. I can't see paying 25,000 for.
We haven't heard any more on that yet.
No, not yet. It's got the replacement computers. It's got the Chromebooks for the kids. And then it's got the other, long-term facility maintenance and other funding in there. So it's got all of that that's going to be in the next budget. And so you can see, if you turn sideways,
You can click a button to,
You can rotate it.
if I knew where the rotate
I
button
think
was.
go up to the top or down to the bottom, and usually it should show up. It's not showing
No.
up. Go to the right, does it show up when you, or right click?
If I were on a regular sheet, it would, but I'm in SharePoint, and I don't think in SharePoint it will let me do it.
Classified. Anybody wants to see it, I got a copy here.
Yeah, I got a copy here
I
too.
have it.
Now, we talked a little bit about, and I thought it was included, but maybe I think it is, about the extra staffing in the high school, it's included.
Yep.
That it's another half a person
There.
for the high school, for Todd's proposal for those classes, so that's included. Should we note that that's included, or we'll just know?
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yep.
Okay, so, do we have a motion to approve the approval of the FY 20 proposed budget?
Are we gonna make? So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, okay, discussion.
No, that's my
Go ahead.
question. Are we gonna leave it as is? Are we gonna try to do the swap of the dependable vote that we just made tonight and make that change in here? Which way are we gonna do it?
Well, this is the proposed budget, and so as that proposed budget, it comes back again to finance and with the
Just tweak again
modifications
and
and
again.
it'll
So
come
we'll just
back.
leave it as is and make a note, and then it'll be in the next version.
Right.
Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Policy for second reading. We have a motion to approve policy 807.
So move.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Michaeline. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, announcements. Supporting events, negotiating committee. We have a meeting coming up on the 24th at 3:30 on Monday.
No money now in the budget.
No, it's just the beginning of, as Josh would call it, meet and greet. Hi, my name is Tom. In case you didn't know, that type of thing. So, Corinne's bringing coffee, right?
Sure.
Just throwing it out there. Okay. Anything else you want to add to that? Corinne?
No, it's,
Meeting and committee updates. We had a tech advisory meeting.
Let's improve that pretty well.
Well, did we
Anything you want
talk?
to bring up?
Yeah, we talked, was it a week ago that we had the meeting where we went over, all of the different, so there were 3 different tools that we researched. Did you guys talk about this? No?
We talked about not tonight.
Okay, so we researched, I have no idea what their names are now, with the
Oh,
one,
Campus.
Apogee.
Campus Suite, Apogee, oh,
And school messenger.
yes.
And so it was the one that was brought up at a board meeting a month or so ago, and then there were 2 other options, and we talked with the person and researched the stuff, and honestly, I think all 3 of them would work. So
There's some where it's, the user experience is very different on all 3 of them.
and we just talked a bit about making sure we know what we're gonna do with the tool, like are we gonna have an app, and what's gonna be in the app, and what's gonna still be in the announcements, and what do we want to achieve, and who's gonna do it. And Todd was gonna reach out and find out talk to some of the schools that had some of them, and I don't think we've heard back on that.
We haven't heard back that I know of. I know that
Oh, he's on his fishing trip.
in looking at some of the apps there, with Apogee, the app goes to the individual school instead of going to the school website. And so the app isn't very easy in some of the other ones where if you click lunch, you get right to the lunch menu. You don't have several different clicks to try to wade through the website, and it's hard on your phone. Where with Apogee, everything is its own app.
And I should probably look at some of those that were out there and
So
research
there's more
on
to
some.
come on it, no more research.
Yeah, we decided we really need to spend the time and make sure we pick the right
Right.
one. They're all 3 about, I mean, they're all about the same price. So the messaging that we have though would be very nice. The ability to send out messages compared to what we have today. So,
We probably need to look at some type of upgrade, but you're absolutely right. We need to do the research and really talk to other people, because once we move, it's kind of like Infinite Campus. Once we're there, we're gonna basically stay there.
Do you guys have
'cause-
timelines on that, as far as Todd getting the information, and you guys
Well-
are gonna sit down again? You know, you're looking at before school this year, or,
No,
you know, are you looking at
and
the
I
next
did
meeting
talk
in
to
August?
the person from, Yeah.
January?
yeah.
I'm just curious, so anyway, I'm assuming you have some plan.
Yeah, because Todd and Joe said he would sit in on some of these things, and they would look at Toma School District and La Crescent use one of them. There are other schools
Mhm.
in northern Minnesota that use another one, and the school messenger is used by many, but ADA compliance questions and concerns were on our mind as well as the things that Mimi shared. So, and Todd had said, you know, we're not gonna have it ready for August, and like Corinne said, if we jump in, we're not jumping back out, so we wanna be sure that we know
that's
what
good.
we're doing with it and why we're doing it.
Okay, just keep us posted.
No, Of course.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, if we got better organized, or if we narrow it down to 2, we could probably give you guys a list of ones to go check out, and you could let us know your feedback as well.
Cool.
So I think it's actually, I mean, I don't know that we ever set a strategic planning goal. I mean, I think it could be a strategic planning item. It's a big initiative and should probably go under marketing or something.
Apogee is really listed as a marketing tool, and that's how I.
Yeah,
and
whatever we
stumble.
choose, whatever we choose, I think should be our initiative for strategic, or for marketing for our strategic plan.
Mhm.
Anything else on it?
No,
Okay, finance committee meeting, I didn't make it for that.
we went over everything.
Went over that. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, any feedback? Thank you. Agenda, anything else, Quinn?
When I end up getting, a really nasty phone call, can we either set up some way to close the basketball court? I got an incredibly offensive, threatening phone call on Tuesday night.
Because it was open too late.
Yes.
Because Ron's out of town.
Ron's out of town and I forgot to go lock it. I've gotten calls before when Ron hasn't been available or has forgotten to lock it. And most of the time, I get there by like 9:20 and the kids realize, it's after 9, they've gone home. And so I've gotten there and there hasn't been anyone there because the kids are being good. They just lose track of time because they're having fun shooting baskets.
Well, the problem is we're looking at our kids doing a positive thing in the community, and we're trying to be critical about it. And
I would much rather have them playing basketball.
well, you're forcing these kids to go do something else, which is not gonna be as inviting. I mean, or not for us, it's not gonna be a good thing. We had talked briefly before about extending it to 10 and then the police take over. Do you remember, is that a
Except
possibility or
The
not?
one sign that we don't have to replace is the sign that says court closes at 9.
Yeah, well.
Well,
And it's
like
with 9, is it
$40.
between 9 and 10, Tom, or Ron was saying it was kind of the issue point, right? Anything after 9 is an issue.
I guess I'm just very, very opposed to closing down a basketball court because it's a positive thing for kids to be doing. And when you're in a small town,
Mm-hmm. The more of those you
I
have, the
remember when
better.
I was a kid, we shot baskets all the time. It just happened the court wasn't right. Yes, it was. It was over at the elementary school. Yes. And nobody got upset. I mean, and I can't believe we weren't louder than what these kids are, because we would have the tunes on while we're playing. And so, now we've got these kids that they need to be out there doing these type of things, and we sure can't be critical of positive things that are going on in our community.
I think if we should look at it, is like Peter mentioned if we were to change it to 10, and then obviously we'd have to have a discussion about that. Would the city lock it up for us then? Or do we still have to have somebody lock it? That's a question I would have. I mean,
And I'm not, and
can
I
we
have
find
not,
out from the city how that, I know the city, checks the parks and everything else after 10. but
Maybe they don't lock it, they just
I
check
don't-
it.
Well, that's my question, if they
The other
don't lock it.
problem I have is that if this is multiple, like a majority of the town is all
No.
upset about this, then
No,
I
it's just
then
one-
I think it's
one-
something we need to address. But we can't make decisions based on one person, because if we do, we're gonna be making decisions constantly because one person or two people complain about something.
except
I don't know,
Well, I think
we've
we
got
need
the
to-
issue where if, like, last night, I didn't get called, but if I would've, I was not home. Ron's not home. Is there some way that,
Well, that's why I think you need to ask
Fran,
the city.
can we just, our agreement was to close the court at 9.
mhm,
Could we just set up, I told you I'm usually here, Could we just set up a schedule, you, Ron, and me, and just say who is responsible for locking the court at 9 o'clock?
Sure.
And then somebody else will have to unlock it in the morning. I don't know who was responsible for that, but that
We had
would
Andy come in the
preserve
morning, he could
you
unlock it.
from having calls that are,
You shouldn't have.
you shouldn't have to be
calls.
dealing with
Yeah.
those, but our agreement was to close the court at 9. And mostly the kids are gone, but not always, and that's the issue, that when the
It
court's
doesn't happen
open.
that often, I mean, how often is there
I
kids
know,
down
but the
there
only
after
way to
9
do it
o'clock,
is to
you know? Yeah.
routinely,
I was down with my grandson last week, and we didn't leave till, I mean, nobody said anything, we left, I think, at 5 after 9. And so I was there with my 9-year-old grandson. So,
yeah, I understand
know-
what you're saying, Pete, but we've had meetings where we need to be sensitive to our neighborhood and our community as well.
we
And-
do, but do we need to be sensitive to one party or
Well,
two parties? I think
Okay,
that's.
I'm just, can we use long-term facilities maintenance to replace the blacktop on the basketball court behind the school?
Yes.
Then let's do that.
Right, that's a good point.
Then that we don't have to worry about closing that at 9 o'clock. That's not in a neighborhood,
Right, good point.
so.
The neighbors over here.
I think too, if you wanna
Well,
talk, I mean,
No, you
I,
won't.
if we wanna talk about changing it, it should be on the next board meeting as an agenda item, and we could talk about I mean, it doesn't hurt to talk about it.
No, it doesn't.
But,
I
it
just-
should be on the, as an agenda item if we wanna do it.
But you shouldn't be in the calls, and I
No.
think like Mike is saying,
Nor-
if you aren't available, Ron's not available, then we should get someone else as a backup until we
Well,
get
we
it
just say
resolved one way or
who's-
the other.
This month, I mean, it
I
is,
think your difficulty in the summer too is it's more misused, that time element in the summer.
Mhm.
Because we were down there.
It's light.
It's light.
It wasn't dark
It's
yet.
black.
Yeah, it's
And
light till.
obviously, we're gonna leave when it's dark with my grandson, but that's the issue of the 9 o'clock, cause it's late yet.
Mhm.
But again, I just hate to push away these kids who are doing something positive. And
So
just like
on
we're
the street.
forcing them to go up to South Park
This is what
and
I
do
said.
something different than we would, we would like to see. Well, it's hidden. Is that's what I'm saying, is I'm saying that we're forcing them to go to an area that people can't see them. And we don't wanna do that. I mean, we want South Park to be a positive place, just like all these others in the community. And that's, I think we've gotta look at those things too. Kids operate on a different time zone than we do. They, 9, 10 o'clock at night is not late to them. But it may be to us, so, but that's a very good point. If we could get this basketball court, if we could find the funding to
so we
surface
can't do
that.
it for the backboards, right? Or we could,
I will look into,
Because the
but we
backboard,
could maybe replace the pavement,
yes.
is from what you're saying about the tennis courts. Maybe we can do the pavement if we can do the backboards,
But
that
you
has to
might-
be done as
You
well.
Are they
might
still
even
up?
find someone,
Yeah,
Well,
you
then we're just
might even find
replacing
someone
them.
that's willing to donate if that is tossed out there as a possibility.
well, sure, I mean,
Because
The backboards are there, I mean, you need a new board piece on it, they're
Yes.
broken and stuff, but.
but then we'd also need to put on your budget, security cameras, we just need to point a security camera back on that as well,
Mhm.
correct,
so that we have eyes on it.
yeah, because that's the difficulty of that, it's hidden from the
Right.
street.
Right, but it doesn't have to be.
And
It
that's
can
why
be-
the backboards were broken before, I'm sure.
Well, but
Yeah.
then we can solve that with the technology of today.
Right, correct.
Okay.
And then, I did meet with Angela, Laura, and John as we were, getting the 3-year review completed, because they did so much work on the ESSA, plan this year, that there was a lot of that, a lot of what surveying they did as far as students and faculty members actually blended in very well with the things that we needed on this 3-year review. So we've got a lot of data. It was very good. So we really can put together a good 3-year review. We're hoping to have that done early. We've got it in a Google shared document. We're hoping to have that done early next week so that we can share it. It will come to the online school committee on the 18th of July, and then it will come to the board that night too, but it will be open to everyone well before the July 18th, so that people can comment and weigh in on things, so that by the time we get to the 18th, all the comments can be reflected in the document.
Anything else? Okay, do you have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed?
Thank you
Thank you
very
again
much.
for all being here.